Hey guys, welcome. This is our fall 2025 company meeting.
In order to build a brand, you have to understand what you're building a brand for. That realization for me was the business that I was ultimately buying was so difficult to navigate because I was constantly trying to build myself around a brand. As opposed to with Call Dad, we're building a brand around myself.
When we look at a brand, we're aiming for fame. We're aiming for that ability to be larger than life. Don't tell people a story, be the story.
If I say all you gotta do,
we'll just roll straight into it. So our style interview is just you and I having a conversation, trying to ignore the camera. But I would like to hear that joke, so we can start with that.
it's a construction one. I'm still working on it.
Okay.
He didn't even get it. He was like, what are you working on? Before Call Dad, I did investment banking for almost a decade. And during that, started having a family and just kind of lacking that fulfillment. So then started hunting around for a small business. Around that same time, had a bad experience with 2 HVAC providers. Part of the essence behind Call Dad is this was actually the one situation that I couldn't call my dad for. I was raised very hands-on, but when it came to HVAC, for all I knew, it could have been a squirrel wheel. So the first experience was we called the big company in town. They were so responsive, but the issue was once they got in the home, they were extremely pushy. This second experience was a battle just to get them to our home. Eventually they got out to the home. It was the polar opposite of the first experience, unbelievably genuine. I had that aha moment of like, man, it would be awesome if I could take the efficiency and responsiveness of the first business and pair it with the authenticity and genuine family feel of the second business, which put me into the world of hunting for an HVAC business to acquire. But as time goes on, it was not what I expected.
5 years ago, Call Dad didn't exist. We were Sky HVAC.
They had a great HVAC operation, but they weren't special, right? It was just like any other HVAC company.
And Matt realized if we were going to get to where we wanted to go, we weren't going to be able to continue operating the way we were.
I was having this personal conundrum with where the business needed to be, and at that same moment ran into somebody who introduced me to branding, where we ultimately went down the path of being introduced to the Wizards.
The first initial meeting, I thought it would be a 4-hour marketing meeting, and it really ended up being a 14-hour Dr. Phil therapy session.
They wanted to dig deeper than I ever possibly imagined, where they wanted to know not necessarily why the business, but like why I had any interest in doing anything in life.
They realized that the brand Sky had no relevance to who we were as an organization. It had no meaning. It wasn't our name.
When you go in and you're doing an Uncovery session, as we do, they told us about the nuts and bolts, and we kind of got past that bit of the conversation fairly quickly. It was really the stories of their childhood, their wives, their parents, their kids, and it was so abundantly clear that these guys were the dads of all dads. So I said, I've got an idea.
Ryan texted me and says, I just looked it up. CallDad.com is available. I said, this is too early. We can't tell them that. I said, can we see if we can relate something to Sky? And he's like, you don't want to tell them?
We proposed it that day, which is super rare for us, but when you see something this significant, you lean into it.
You say that you're mentally prepared for something, but when you hear something that's so different than anything that's ever been out there, is one of those things that you kind of turn your head at, and then you're like, holy crap, that makes so much sense. Especially makes so much sense for the values that we already had as an organization.
By the end of that first meeting, I said we either made the dumbest decision or it was the best decision we ever made.
So initially, growth was not good.
They warned us up front, you're going to see a dip for about 6 months. And now they're saying spend millions of dollars to rebrand the organization. I think anybody would be hesitant at first, but we believed in Ryan and his team, and we thought it was worth the risk.
After that period, the overwhelming response has been energizing, to say the least.
A lot of people absolutely love the brand.
Hi, it's Matt from Call Dad.
People love the advertisements,
You've heard my dad stories. When I got locked out of my own home on Christmas Eve.
the corniness of them.
Mom, my tooth is loose. Go grab me some pliers.
I can't tell you how many times that someone has stopped us. They're like, hey, love the name. When I have a problem, I call Dad.
Mix 96.5, it's Melanie.
Well, I mean, I have never dealt with a business like that in my whole life. This is the company you need to go to.
Thank you.
One of our commercials was like, send us call dad jokes, and we got thousands of them.
Why can't the T-Rex clap? Because it's extinct.
I've gotten handwritten letters about how our service filled the expectations that they had for their father.
We had a lady who did one last Google search and saw Call Dad, and she had just lost her dad. And she said it was like someone was speaking to me. I need to call them, which is really special.
I think it's just that resonation of we're all looking to be taken care of, and that's the promise of Call Dad. I'm on my way, because that's what Dad would say.
We're on the way. Dad said that 1,000 times when I was a kid.
Stories make up the fabric of human communication. The things that make people feel live in stories. There's never been information that has delivered transformation.
You have to find a way for people to remember who you are. And the best way of doing that is through stories that help you in your mind build a relationship with a business. That's what helps it become memorable.
Dad tells this story every year. It's Christmas morning.
When you have a brand, you need to have two major components. One, you need to have something that gets past Broca's area. That's the part of the brain that permits the unpredictable into the imagination.
No opening presents till Mom and Dad are there.
So we need to do something that people aren't expecting out of a home service company. The second thing we need to do is frequency. We use the repetition in mass medias that we know we can trust so that people can remember us, not just for the first 7 seconds, but for the next 7 days, and from 7 days to the very long-term memory that exists in our chemical memory.
They started just on radio, and now they are owning social media.
This feels like the den in my grandparents' home. Missing some bowling trophies, maybe.
Yeah. And now we're starting in the new year with television.
Michelle from Greenville asks how we came up with our name.
So many people have built the Call Dad brand in their mind through radio, which is really, really powerful. Now we're going to give them another visual element to add to that, which is going to be fun.
Let's be honest though, I like to win. I like to surround myself with winners.
I think the most important thing about your marketing is that it's not an either-or scenario, that there's three things at play and you have to get that mix right. The brand awareness paired with the sales activation devices, paired with lead capture, and then spending that money just right is going to be what helps elevate your operation.
All the way through today, we are still setting record months. This year, we're up 67% year over year. We have 8 markets. We'll finish the year with total employees of probably around 210, total revenue of approaching 38 million.
They only wanted to take over the Carolinas, and they have completely blown up. Everybody knows them now.
They're going to be adding plumbing and electrical here very, very shortly. We expect that they'll be a $250 million operation within the next few years.
That experience was something that I never imagined that someone would dig as far as they would to understand how to position a business around that individual's values. And the connectivity and the growth was well beyond anything that we ever imagined.